Choosing a cruise cabin is definitely one of the hardest parts of planning a cruise, but not to worry. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 10 most desirable cruise cabin locations so that you can choose the perfect cabin for you. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now in today's video, I'm going to share with you some unique tips and things that you should look for in terms of the location of your cruise ship cabin. So of course, we're going to talk about things like noise and stability, but we're also going to talk about some cabins that might be a little bit special for you, depending on what you really like to do on a cruise. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give the video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number 1, a midship cabin. Now we have to get this obvious one out of the way because it really is said so often because it is true. When you have a cruise cabin that is midship, meaning that you're at the equilibrium of the ship in terms of the height and in terms of the width of the ship, you are going to generally have probably the very best location for the majority of cruisers. Now, the advantage of this is stability. Overall, this is a very stable place to be on a cruise ship, even in terms of potential seasickness and rough seas. But at the same time, there's a pretty practical reason to being midship. It's also really pretty close to everything. So generally on many cruise ships, you're going to have an atrium or maybe a piazza or a centrum. And that basically is sort of a central hub in the interior of the cruise ship. So usually if you're midship, if you have some midship elevators and you're close by to them, you're going to be close by to that central hub of the cruise ship. As well, when you're going above, so perhaps you're going to the Lido deck or you're going lower down because you're going to some of the different cruise ship activities, you're really going to be in a central area to be able to really access so much of the cruise ship. Now finally, if you're on a mega ship, the nice thing about being in the center of the cruise ship or the midship is that you really don't have too far a walk. Well, it's still pretty far, but the walk is a little bit less than if you're way forward or way back. Now, if you are somebody who likes a midship cabin, please let me know down in the comments below. Number 2, forward cabins. Now, this one might surprise you, but if you are the type of cruiser that really wants to see those forward views, and they really are magnificent, just imagine sailing forward what you see when you're at sea, but also when you arrive at a destination. That view is incredible. So if you have a forward cabin that happens to be an ocean view cabin, you're going to get that big window looking forward of the cruise ship. And oftentimes those forward ocean view cabins are a little bit unique. Sometimes they'll have large floor to ceiling windows, and at the same time they'll also have more floor space in front of that window as well. You'll even find many times that those ocean view cabins that are forward, and usually those are higher up, so let's say on deck 8 or deck 9 or even on deck 10, oftentimes they're also larger than other ocean view cabins that might be lower down on the cruise ship. Now, just to mention, there are some disadvantages to forward cabins, and one of those is if you are prone to seasickness or motion sickness, you will likely feel it more in the forward than you will in other areas of the cruise ship, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. Number 3, one of the very best cruise cabin locations for many cruisers are aft facing balcony cabins. Now, aft facing balcony cabins, well, first of all, what can we say about the views? The views for many cruisers, that wake view is just mesmerizing. It is like nothing else. Personally, I love that area of a cruise ship. Now, the balconies themselves, the really nice thing is they're usually significantly deeper. So that is really something very nice. You can often put lounge chairs on your cruise ship balcony. If you have an aft-facing balcony, you get those beautiful views. You get more space. So that's definitely something, if you love that area of the cruise ship, that is definitely an area to consider for your cruise ship cabin. Number 4, cabins that are close by to the spa. Now, this is something unique and obviously not for everybody, but if you think that you'll be using the spa a lot during your cruise, you will probably love being near the spa, being able to walk from your cabin over to the spa in your bathrobe and your slippers and not having to maybe take elevators. And in your robe, so you'll be able to be close by. Now, in some cases, you may have a spa type cabin, like the Aqua Class cabins on Celebrity, or in other cases, perhaps you'll be buying a weekly pass, or you think that you'll be there a lot, but that is really something to consider. So that's something you can take a look at when you're looking at the cruise ship deck plan. Take a look at which cabins are close by to the spa. Number 5, the lower decks. So yes, like deck 2 and deck 3, these cabin locations really have some advantages. Now, the main advantage of these lower decks is really this is an area that does have more stability. So if you have rough seas that you encounter, you will find that being close to the waterline is a more stable place to be on the cruise ship. Even though personally, I really like the midship cabins and I like to be a little bit higher up. These lower decks, well, most people even who work on a cruise or cruisers do say that this is an area on deck 2 or deck 3 or even deck 1 that they don't feel very much movement. Now, in particular, if you have an ocean view cabin, this can be a really nice view, especially when you are coming up to a cruise port of call. You get that view where you're almost really side by side with the dock, a little bit higher up, a really, really nice view as well. Hump cabins. Now, this is such a unique cabin location, and a lot of times people that haven't cruised before don't know about these cabins. But basically, hump cabins, in particular, I'm talking about balcony cabins, but these cabins will be where the cruise ship, well, there's usually an area of the cruise ship that sort of juts out further than the rest of the cruise ship. So if you can find a cabin that is sort of on that hump, they call it, you'll oftentimes have maybe an angled or a curved balcony, and oftentimes that balcony will be a little bit larger than the other balconies as well. And the really positive part about it, or the good part about it, is the fact that you're going to have kind of that better view because you are further out of the cruise ship than the cabins that are behind you. Now, I am curious if you've sailed in a hump balcony cabin before. Please let me know what your experience has been. Did you like that cabin category, or did you prefer a more regular balcony? Number 7, cabins that are located close by the elevators. Now, this is not for everybody, but for some cruisers, a cabin that is nearby the elevator is really going to be your best bet. So if you have any mobility issues at all, so whether maybe you just have like bad knees, or maybe it's difficult to walk long distances, on some cruise ships, they are really big, and being close by to the elevators will be helpful. Maybe you use a mobility scooter. There are a lot of reasons that being close by to the elevator in terms of your cabin is really going to be something good. Number 8, should you book a starboard or a portside cabin? And in particular, if you have a balcony or if you have a window like an ocean view cabin, I know a lot of people really do wonder about this. Now, overall, there really isn't much of a difference in terms of the cabin location. Both of them are really good for the majority of cruise ports. However, there are some itineraries where you may prefer one side of the ship versus the other. Now, in particular, if you're sailing to Alaska and if you're doing like a northbound route or a southbound route, when you are going northbound, you are going to want to be on the starboard side generally because you're going to see more of the coast or more of the landscape. And when you're going southbound, you are going to want to be more than likely on the port side if that's what you want. Now, keep in mind that when you're going through Glacier Bay or you're seeing any of the glaciers, the ship is going to rotate, so everybody does see this, but this is very general. Now as well, if you're sailing transatlantic, there is going to be a difference. You want to make sure that you're able to see the Statue of Liberty if this is something that you plan to either get up early or maybe plan to see this during sail away from your own balcony, so this is something to keep in mind. Number 9, no matter what else happens, you're always going to be better off having a cabin location where you have cabins above you and below you, and even ideally on each side of you. So basically those cabins that are sandwiched between two decks that have cabins are better cabins generally than cabins that are maybe under the Lido deck or the pool deck. That tends to be one of the decks that might have a little bit more noise if maybe you're like above one of the discos or below one of the discos. Generally, these are locations that you do want to tend to avoid. Number 10, cabins that are close to certain locations or certain venues on the cruise ship. Now, this is going to depend for everybody because there are going to be some places that you want to be close to that I may not want to be close to. So for instance, if you have children, you may want to be close to the kids club. And in particular, if you have, I'd say, teens or preteens, you probably want to have a cabin that is located on the same side of the ship as the kids club, because sometimes they'll be coming back to their cabin at 10, 11, or maybe even later at night, and you want to make sure that they just get back to the cabin as easily as possible. So get a cabin that is close by to that. Now, maybe you are somebody who smokes and you want to have a cabin that is closer to maybe a smoking area on the Lido deck. So take a look for a cabin that is located on that side of the cruise ship. Now, maybe you like going to the casino, be close to the casino then, or perhaps you love being near the buffet or the Lido deck. And in that case, then choose a cabin that is located close by to those venues. Now, since we're all different, I'd really love to know from you, what do you consider to be the best cruise cabin location on a cruise ship? Where do you like to be? Please let me know down in the comments below. And I'm going to leave a video right after this one that is pretty important. It's about the cruise cabins that you want to avoid. So just like there are cabins that you want to book, there are some that for different reasons you may not want to book. And I'm going to leave that video right after this one. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I would love to have you here within the Life While Cruise community. Bye for now, and happy cruising.